In the coastal city of Brighton, Jack was known for his kindness and dedication as a firefighter. He deeply loved life and even more, his fiancée Claire. Claire was an art teacher, a sweet and talented woman with an ever-optimistic outlook on the future. Their connection was undeniable, and Jack could hardly wait to propose, a plan he had been carefully crafting for months. He wanted it to be unforgettable. On Claire's birthday, Jack organized a surprise dinner at the most charming restaurant in town. At the end of the night, he asked the pianist to play Claire's favorite song. Then, under the watchful eyes of everyone present, he knelt down, opened a small box, and with a voice trembling with emotion proposed. Claire, with tears of happiness, said yes. The restaurant erupted in applause and celebrations. The following months were filled with excitement and anticipation as Claire and Jack planned the wedding of their dreams. Every detail was chosen with love. The flowers, the music, the venue, everything reflected the joy and love they shared. But like a thunderbolt in a clear sky, fate revealed its cruel side. Just 2 months before the big day, tragedy struck. Claire was involved in a car accident while returning from a school trip with her students. The news hit Jack like a blow that pierced his soul. He fell to his knees upon hearing the doctor's words, unable to process the devastating reality. Claire, the love of his life, was gone in an instant, leaving behind a void no force could fill. Jack wept for countless nights, haunted by the memory of her smile and the bitter absence of a final, "I love you," he never got to say. Meanwhile, as Jack endured the darkest days of his life in London, Claire's younger sister, Emily, was about to face one of the most challenging moments of her existence. Emily, a promising architect with a hectic schedule, carried a hidden emptiness she rarely acknowledged, the distance from her family, especially Claire. After an unresolved family disagreement, she had distanced herself from her sister and parents, building a wall that seemed insurmountable. When she received the news of Claire's death, her world came crashing down. The phone trembled in her hands as she listened to her father's words, each one cutting like a blade. Guilt and regret consumed her heart. She couldn't stop thinking about the unanswered messages, forgotten birthdays, and missed chances to reconcile. Claire's face flooded her thoughts, a mix of happy memories and the painful reality that she would never see her again. Determined to confront the ghosts of the past, Emily packed her bags and headed to Brighton for the funeral. Upon arrival, the scene was heart-wrenching. The family home was engulfed in suffocating sadness, and her reunion with her parents was marked by tears and long emotional embraces. Emily's mother, her eyes red from crying, held her hands tightly, as if trying to convey the weight of all they had lost. Despite the pain, there was a glimmer of hope. Perhaps this tragic moment could be a turning point for reconciliation, something that had seemed impossible for so long. As Emily worked to reconnect with her parents, she felt an urge to understand more about the life Claire had lived in recent years. She asked for the keys to her sister's apartment, a place that might hold the answers she was seeking. However, her arrival at the apartment brought new conflict. Jack, still drowning in overwhelming grief, reacted with distrust upon seeing her there. To him, Emily was almost a stranger, someone who had chosen to distance herself and who now appeared suddenly, wanting access to what he saw as a sanctuary of memories. "You weren't here when she needed you most. And now you want to take what's left of her," Jack said, his voice filled with pain and anger. His words struck Emily's heart like a blow. She, surprised and hurt, replied with firmness, but also with sadness, "I don't want to take anything. I just want to feel her presence again." The tension in the air was almost tangible, and they both fell silent for a moment, each battling their own emotions. In that moment, the apartment, filled with traces of Claire's life, became a stage for conflicting emotions, where grief, guilt, and the need for understanding clashed in a storm neither of them was prepared to face. In the days that followed, Emily stayed in town, trying to reconnect with her parents and indirectly with Claire. She visited places her sister used to frequent, talked to her friends, and spent hours in the apartment, flipping through diaries and looking at Claire's paintings. Slowly, she began to understand aspects of her sister's life she had never known. Jack, on the other hand, continued to visit the apartment as well. He would go to retrieve small belongings of Claire's, something to keep her memory alive. During one of these visits, he found Emily sitting on the floor of the living room, surrounded by photos and letters. The tears in her eyes softened Jack's anger. He realized that Emily was hurting too. They began talking, initially in a hesitant manner. Emily asked Jack to share stories about Claire's recent years, and though reluctant at first, he opened up, recounting tales that made her both laugh and cry. Gradually, the two found solace in each other, exchanging memories and grief. What began as a cautious exchange of stories slowly evolved into something deeper. Jack, who initially saw Emily as a painful reminder of Claire, began to admire her strength and determination. He noticed how, despite her evident pain, she made efforts to reconnect with her family and rediscover her sister's essence through memories. On the other hand, Emily observed in Jack a resilient and generous man, someone whose heart carried more than just sorrow. He was a wounded soul who, despite everything, still found ways to show kindness. Their encounters at Claire's apartment became less tense. One day, while organizing Claire's letters and diaries, Jack laughed out loud upon finding a humorous note Claire had written about a disastrous date from years ago. His laughter, something Emily had never heard before, lit up the room. In that moment, she realized he wasn't just a man trapped in grief, but someone capable of finding joy in life's small moments. Jack also began to notice Emily's vulnerability. During one conversation, she confessed the guilt she felt for having distanced herself from her sister. "I should have called more. I should have shown up, tried to fix things. Maybe if I had, things would have been different," she admitted, her eyes brimming with tears. Jack, with a calm and gentle voice, replied, "Claire knew you loved her, Emily. She never held grudges against anyone. And I'm certain she'd be happy to see you here now." One day, Jack suggested that Emily join a community campaign organized by the fire department. It was something Claire loved to do. Helping people made her feel alive. "Maybe it'll bring you closer to her too," he said with a shy smile. Emily agreed, uncertain but curious about the experience. On the day of the event, as they helped set up booths and distribute food, Emily saw a new side of Jack that captivated her even more. He was attentive to everyone, especially the children. His patience and sense of humor were infectious. At one point, while carrying heavy boxes, Jack joked about his clumsiness, drawing sincere laughter from Emily. It was the first time in months she had laughed like that, and she felt an unexplainable warmth fill her chest. For Jack, seeing Emily engage with the community was both a relief and an inspiration. He noticed her kindness, her natural ability to listen, and her comforting words. During a coffee break, he remarked, "You have the same glow Claire had when helping others. It's like she's here in some way." Emily was left speechless but smiled, feeling at peace for the first time in a long while. Despite their growing connection, fears and doubts loomed over both of them. Emily wrestled with guilt over getting close to Jack, feeling like she might be intruding on a space that belonged to her sister. Jack, on the other hand, worried that opening his heart again might betray Claire's memory. However, each shared smile and heartfelt conversation seemed to chip away at those barriers, building a bridge between two hearts slowly learning to heal. But a friend of Emily's, noticing her closeness to Jack, planted seeds of doubt in her mind. "People might think you're trying to take your sister's place, Emily. It's not going to look good," she warned. Insecure, Emily decided to distance herself from Jack. Jack, confused and deeply hurt by Emily's sudden decision, tried to understand what had gone wrong. He sent messages and even called a few times, but every attempt was met with evasive responses or silence. Visibly uncomfortable, Emily explained her withdrawal by saying she needed to return to London and focus on work. Her cold and distant tone stood in stark contrast to the bond they had built. For Jack, it felt as though the connection that had brought them together had been ripped away without explanation. Jack's grief, already heavy, became even more suffocating. In the silence of Claire's empty apartment, he replayed moments with Emily, analyzing every conversation and gesture, searching for answers that never came. He questioned if he had done something wrong or if he simply wasn't worthy of love again. The nights were long and lonely, and the lack of clarity about Emily's reasons left his mind spiraling through painful scenarios. In London, Emily wasn't faring much better. She buried herself in work as a distraction, but Jack's face appeared in her mind at the most unexpected moments, during meetings, while walking through the streets, or while organizing her projects. The guilt weighed heavily on her heart. She knew her withdrawal wasn't fair, but fear of judgment and misinterpretation held her back. Her nights were filled with regret and an aching emptiness, as though she was running not just from Jack but from herself. Months dragged on, with each of them living their pain in silence. Jack, unable to move on, sought solace in his work and friendships, but nothing could fill the void Emily had left. Often, he walked along the beach where they had shared meaningful moments, hoping to find some semblance of peace. Emily, meanwhile, remained trapped between what she felt and what she thought she should do. Both were prisoners of their insecurities, unable to take the step needed to reconnect. Yet fate, in its mysterious and unpredictable way, had other plans, waiting for the right moment to reunite the paths that should never have diverged. 4 years later, on a sunny afternoon in Brighton, Jack was walking along the shore when he saw a familiar figure. It was Emily. They both froze, shocked to see each other again. After a few moments of silence, Jack took the initiative and said, "Emily, how have you been?" The conversation started hesitantly, but soon flowed naturally. Emily explained the reason for her distance and confessed her regret for not trusting her own feelings. Jack, in turn, shared how lonely those years had been and how he had never been able to forget her. Over time, the two began to rebuild their relationship. Small gestures marked the start of a new journey: long walks by the seaside, conversations under the moonlight, and moments of shared silence where words weren't needed to express what they both felt. Jack and Emily learned to trust each other, open their hearts, and most importantly, face the ghosts of the past together. They refused to let the fear of judgment or the shadow of Claire stand in the way of what they were building. Emily, who had once been so worried about what others might think, found strength in the certainty that her love for Jack didn't diminish her connection to her sister, it honored it. Jack, on the other hand, realized that moving forward didn't mean forgetting Claire, but carrying her love as inspiration for a fresh start. Each day they spent together was a step toward healing. Determined to embrace this new chapter of her life, Emily left London and moved to Brighton. In the coastal city, she found not only a home but also a community that welcomed her warmly. Jack, inspired by her courage, discovered a renewed purpose in life. He turned his house into a haven of joy, filled with laughter and the memories he and Emily created together. Years later, they were married and had a daughter named Clara. The name was chosen with love, a tribute to Claire, symbolizing the eternal bond that connected them. Clara brought a new light into their lives, filling the spaces once occupied by pain. Jack and Emily became partners in every sense, building a family, helping their community, and sharing the happiness they had fought so hard to achieve. And what does this story teach us? That love has the power to transform even the deepest wounds into bridges to a better future. Loss, no matter how devastating, doesn't have to be the end. Jack and Emily show us that, with courage, empathy, and the willingness to start anew, it's possible to find happiness again. Amid the waves of the sea and the glow of Brighton's lighthouse, two wounded souls discovered that love, even after the storm, can bloom in an even more beautiful and lasting way. If this story touched your heart and reminded you of the power of love and resilience, why not share it with someone special? Leave a comment telling us what moved you the most, like this video to support more stories like this, and subscribe so you won't miss a single update. Who knows? The next story might be just as inspiring as this one. Let's spread love and hope together. Thank you for watching and for following my channel. See you next time. Bye.